So there's an old homestead saying that says after you prune your fruit trees, you should be able to throw the family cat through them. So let's see how I did. Alright guys, so today we're going to be looking at this beautiful peach tree behind me. It's just coming out of bloom, and I wanted to talk about how you prune it into what's called an open vase style pruning. So let's take a look. So you can see the general structure. With open vase, they talk about the trunk goes up and then all the branches split off from a common point or near to it. So these fan out, these fan out. What we're going to do is clear out most of the middle in here so sunlight can really penetrate in. That's good for warding off diseases, building new branches that'll be next year's and future year's fruit, and to ripen and color this year's fruit and to build sugar levels. Let's compare that to this beautiful Crimson Crisp apple, which I've pruned to a central leader. So you can see how the main trunk, instead of stopping and all the branches going out, you have your scaffold branches, but the main trunk keeps on going up, the central leader they call it. And that's the general way that you prune your apples, your pears, but stone fruits with peaches, plums, and the like, they favor the open vase style. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're talking about when we say central leader for apples and open vase for peach. So those apples were pruned in late winter. I think I did them in February, maybe early March. But peaches I tend to hold off for a few reasons. We're on the East Coast, so February, early March, there's a fly on the camera, get out of there. That tends to be a pretty cold, wet time of the year. If you prune your peaches or stone fruit at that point, it really opens them up at risk for bacterial canker and just future disease problems like that. So we're waiting until now. You can see we're just coming out of bloom. The blossoms have faded. They're no longer quite as brilliantly open and pink. And it's pretty warm out and dry, so that'll facilitate wound healing with all these cuts we're going to make, and we're going to make a lot. This whole area in the middle here, that's going to go. You can be pretty hard on peaches, and they're so vigorous. They'll grow right back. It'll seem like you didn't really do much. So, without further ado, let's get started. I'll show you some of the cuts. So we have our basic, really nice framework of branches here, but there are some, anything like this big one here that's shooting into the middle, that's going to block all that sunlight that's going to come to these branches. It's going to block sunlight for fruit ripening, it's going to block airflow. So that's a prime candidate for coming on out. Make sure your loppers are nice and sharp. That'll come on down and discard that. That'll be for the burn pile. Again, anything that's just shooting right into the center of the tree, that's one of the main goals, is clearing out the center. So do not be afraid. I've found it's actually more beneficial to prune a little bit too hard than not enough, believe it or not. They're so vigorous, they'll come right back. And peaches fruit on 1-year-old wood, which means anything that grows this year, it'll form a little thin branch, and then that will be what flowers and fruits next year and every subsequent year to come. So we want to leave a decent amount of those, clear out these interior branches. Other things that will make the hit list, some of these things that are really shaded out down low, you can see they're just not very vigorous because they were getting shaded out. Anything that's crisscrossing, those are prime candidates to get on out of there. Step back, take a look at what we've done so far. This one will be the next one. I also like to make my cuts slanted, so when you're looking at it, instead of flush facing straight up, I like to do it slanted, and rainwater will shed off of those easy rather than collecting right on the trunk, or right on the cut rather. Some of these low interior ones that make the hit list. Now eventually Might want to keep some of those as your future scaffold branches. But this is still a fairly young tree, so we're going to take a good deal of those out. And they're going to make some problems in a little bit, so let's get them out of the way now and we won't have to deal with them in years to come. Another good reason I like to prune during or slightly after bloom is it gives you an opportunity to see if there's been any winter dieback, especially in a colder climate like this. This was a very mild winter, so there's no dieback, but in some years there'll be a lot of branches that don't even have blossoms on them. So waiting until bloom gives you an idea of what made it through the winter and what didn't. And that can guide your pruning decisions. All right, here we are post-pruning. Really opened up. I was able to actually stand in the middle, which will really come in handy come harvest time and any spraying time. We do a holistic spray to build health. I did a video on that I'll link to here. But look, we actually stand right in the middle of this vase-shaped peach. Beautiful. A lot of airflow, sunlight penetration, and room for new growth. So you can see just how much this branch is littered all around the tree. You can see just how much you have to take off. They produce quite a bit, so don't be afraid to go aggressive on them. They'll grow right back with fertile soil. It's good for the health, so we probably took about the amount of branches that you see on there, we may have taken about half that amount out entirely. But it'll reward us with a nice healthy tree, healthy delicious fruit. That's a vase-shaped peach. Prune away. Thanks for watching.